How's it going, everyone? This is Gale Hall Gaming, and welcome back to the Phasmophobia Beginner's Guide. Now, I've been holding off on making this episode before I got all of the Tier 2 pieces of equipment unlocked. The one that I was still holding out was the headgear, because that was like 10,000 to upgrade. But we are in a good position to go ahead and record this one, so let's go ahead and get into it. This episode is going to be going over the differences between the first tier and second tier of items, which ones I recommend upgrading, and which ones I recommend leaving at tier 1, because there are a few that can be more useful. I know a lot of people prefer tier 1 thermometer over tier 2. The tier 1 salt piles are a little bit more controlled. You get like a line with the tier 2, you'll see when we get in here. For the most part, though, all of these do have just straight upgrades from their basic ones. Like, the biggest one is the firelight. You go from 10 matches that each lasts 5 seconds to a lighter that lasts a full 5 minutes. The UV light is definitely... The UV light's weird because we went from upgrading from the glow stick to the pen light, and now the pen light is the tier 1 and the glow stick is tier 2. But regardless, let's go ahead and get right into it. I did leave the ghost on... the ghost can hunt me, just because I want to show off the tier 2 crucifix. But for the most part, we should be safe because it's only on amateur. Okay, so first things first, and I'll go ahead and get the differences for this one right out the way. Tier 2 flashlight, it's simply brighter than the tier 1. You get a bit more visibility with it. I'm not going to be using it because of the tier 2 headset, as you'll see later. But it's just a straight upgrade. I do recommend getting this one as soon as possible because the tier 1 flashlight sucks. But as for the tier 2 headlamp, which that kind of gives away what it does, the tier 1 is a extra camera that you can put on your head, and then whoever's in the van can see through your eyes, basically. The tier 2, if you hold down T, is just a tier 2 flashlight strapped to your head. So it is a lot more useful than the tier 1 if you're in single player. If you commonly play multiplayer, I do actually recommend you stick with the tier 1 just because that extra camera can really help for getting dots. Or not dots, but ghost orbs. Just something to bear in mind. Better for single player, somewhat worse. It's arguable for multiplayer. But beyond that, everything else is just something we need to get into the actual house to check. Power box should start on, but it looks like it's going to be in the basement, so that's a little annoying. But the first thing I get to show you guys is the tier 2 thermometer. Now, instead of the tier 1 thermometer being the sort of like mercury thermometer, where it's just basically just like the normal thermometer you'd see everywhere else, this is like the, like, you know those like scanner thermometers that you use for like fevers? This is what this is. So you just hold down your right mouse button or whichever button you use to interact with items in your hand, and that will tell you the temperature in the room. It updates every 5 seconds, and there is a little bit of an error to it. You can see the error down below. The EMS is 0.95, so that means whatever temperature is showing up, it's within like a 0.95 range of that temperature. But you will very easily see when we find the ghost room how quickly that can drop. Which, we'll go ahead and find the ghost room before I set any equipment down. I may accelerate this part just to show the rest of the items. I'm curious what ghost item we have here, but I'm not seeing it as hugely important. We've already done the tutorial for all the cursed items. Looking like it might be Ritual Circle, though. I could be wrong. Yeah, no voodoo doll. Looking like it's gonna... Oh, hold up. Garage is a lot colder. So you can see immediately, this thermometer is a lot better for initially detecting the ghost room, just because you don't have to wait for the room itself to come to temperature. Like, it's immediately, so 21, 21, 21, 21, 9. That is how quickly this thermometer can detect changes in temperature. It is... I know people prefer the tier 1 thermometer. I like the tier 2. And of course the tier 3 is just going to be straight up better than this one, so... As for the tier 2 video camera, the best way to show off the differences with this one is to go out back to the van. So we will go ahead and head back out there after dropping the thermometer and grabbing more gear. Go ahead and turn off my headlamp so that we can actually see into the room without it being blinding. We already got some interaction from the ghost. We're still in the grace period, by the way. But anyway, so the main difference with the tier 2 camera is A, the picture is a lot clearer. You won't have as much of the fuzz that you got from the tier 1. And B, the night vision, instead of being the dull green, is this like black and white vision. This is also a lot more clear. It is a lot easier to detect ghost orbs if I turn off the light, which we'll turn off the light when we get back in there. But for right now, we're going to show off these three. So the tripod, the ghost writing book, and the dots projector. So first off, tier 2 tripod. Sort of a secondary feature of it is heavier than the tier 1 tripod. That's not the main feature of it though. God damn ghost. Breaking into my car. I don't even think it's my car, but still, it's annoying. I always forget to pick up the keys. Because it's so rare that it actually does this interaction. There we go. But anyway, go ahead and throw down the tripod. Then we pick up the camera, place it on. So we're getting some cold. We're getting freezing breath in here. I want to check to see if we don't have any freezing temps. So it was still dropping earlier because it went from like 12 to 9. Nothing definitive yet, but it's also still dropping. But anyway, so like I said, tier 2 tripod. The secondary feature of it is it's heavier than the tier 1. But the main feature we will see when we get back out to the van. Tier 2 ghost writing book. The main difference is it has a wider range of effect, so the ghost will interact with it from a wider range. As well, it has a higher priority. So items in this game have a sort of percentage-based priority for how likely the ghost is to interact with items. I don't know the exact percentages, but the tier 2 ghost writing book has a higher tier of interactability than the tier 1. So if the ghost is a ghost writing type of ghost, it will interact with the book a lot faster. So whether that be, if it is a ghost writing ghost, it writes in the book, or if it's not, it will throw the book, which, fun fact for you guys, if a ghost ever throws a ghost writing book, it is not a ghost writing ghost. Their interaction defaults to writing in it first. Now, the dots projector is odd, because it's not a strict upgrade over the basic dots projector. So the tier 1 dots projector is a little pen light that projects a 5-foot cone of dots outward. This is a little box you can set up, and I will say it can also stick to walls, so just bear that in mind. You can set these up in a lot more areas, but the main key difference is it only goes out to 2.5 feet, and it projects a dome of dots. So you go from a cone that goes out further to a dome that's a bit more restricted. But it is omnidirectional, so you could make an argument for it. Personally, I like using it just because you can stick it anywhere. You don't have to find a spot to put the dots up so that it's like not projecting into a wall. But again, it's completely up to you which one you prefer. But anyway, let me go ahead. I'm going to turn off the light so we can see if we got orbs. And then we are going to check out the secondary, or not the secondary feature, the primary feature of the tier 2 tripod. So the main key difference is this little dial right here. This allows you to rotate whatever camera you have placed on the tripod. This is so useful, you wouldn't even believe. I personally did not upgrade the tier 2 tripod because I did not realize it had this feature. I highly recommend you upgrade when you have the chance, just because of the fact that you can now rotate the cameras and get a better view of the entire room. It'll give you a better sense of if the ghost is interacting with stuff. It'll let you keep track of multiple items in the room without being in the direct danger zone. It is just so useful. And it is almost a crime, like I'll show you when we get back into the lobby, that they don't label it in the upgrade menu. They don't tell you that this is a feature of the tier 2 tripod, but it is such a useful feature that I almost can't go into games anymore without the tripod. But anyway, let's go ahead and grab a few more items. So this is going to be your tier 2 EMF, your tier 2 UV, and your tier 2 spirit box. Now, tier 2 EMF, the main difference is it has a wider range. You can detect EMF signatures from further distances. And B, the other difference is it's a lot more distinct, the level you're getting. So the flaw with the EMF one is you got a lot of like the jiggling needle. So a lot of the time, like back when I was first starting out this game, we would call like EMF 5 when it was like an EMF 4, or we would say, okay, no, it's not an EMF 5, we're not getting anything, when it was actually because the needles swings around so much on the first EMF 5. Don't gotta worry about that at all with the tier 2. I do highly recommend you get this upgrade just because of simplicity. You just have 5 distinct lights. You're gonna be at EMF 1 if you don't detect anything. So this little blue light, and I'm trying to... Okay, we do have an EMF 5 ghost, but you'll see it like lights up, and however many lights you have is the EMF level you're getting. That is actually very nice that we got that right off the bat. Let's see if we can't get a door interaction. But, anyway, as far as the UV light is concerned, the main difference here is you're going from... Now it's a pen light at tier 1, which is okay. It's a very limited range, so you really have to like sweep over an entire door in order to get the actual UV signatures that you're looking for. The glow stick, I do say, is better. It does have a recharge, so like after I believe 2 minutes of active use, the light will fade and you need to right click to shake it up again and like restart the UV light. But it will just sort of passively highlight any UV signatures. So it is very useful. Oh, we do have ghost rank. Hold on. I'm trying to read what that actually says. I can't even see it. Please help me, it hurts. Or it says like hurts, so please help me. And then it scribbles. But anyway. So that's the main difference between those two. And then finally we have tier 2 spirit box. Only real difference here is it's easier to detect when you have a ghost actually replying to you because you have like the little X or the ghost icon. Are you here? Are you nearby? Are you close? Are you distant? Okay, I don't think we have a spirit box ghost, but the other key feature is, like a lot of different things in tier 2, the spirit box has a wider range than its tier 1 variant. So if the ghost is nearby you, it's a lot easier to get that spirit box response. As well as spirit boxes do have a bit of RNG to them. There is a chance that ghost won't reply even if it is a spirit box ghost. I believe that RNGs reduce the higher tier spirit box you get, so always something to bear in mind. Anyway, we have ghost writing EMF 5, so it's a spirit shader myling. I'm trying to think. So if it's a spirit, we're gonna get, I believe it's, no, it's spirit box for spirit, and then freezing temps for a shade and UV for a myling. But anyway, this gives us a chance to show off some of the more optional items. I'm gonna go ahead and grab salt, the crucifix, and the sound sensor, because these are all things we can just set up. So again, a lot of these are just like wider range upgrades. Some of them change some of the properties. We'll go ahead and show them off one by one. The crucifix. Get this upgrade the second you can, because this is one of the like best upgrades to an item in the game. The way the tier 1 to tier 2 crucifix works is the tier 1 crucifix only gets 1 charge. The tier 2 gives you 2. So a single crucifix can protect you from 2 ghost hunts. As well, if I like try and set it down here. Come on, show me the radius. There it is. Yeah, you can see how hard it is for me to show the outer radius of the crucifix. This thing has a massive net of safety. So, yeah, second you can get it, get it. Sound sensor, I believe the main difference with this one is you have one more range setting, so you can hear things out even further than the tier 1 sound sensor. Not the most useful. It's completely up to you whether or not you want to use that. In all honesty, I'm not a huge fan of the sound sensor in general, but I've come around on the uses you can get out of it. Now, tier 2 salt has a few different changes. First off, instead of being the 2 charges you get with tier 1 with the like salt shaker, this little salt dish now has 3 charges, and instead of deploying in a small pile, you get a line of salt. It's a little harder to see whenever you have a ghost step through it, which hopefully we shouldn't be dealing with a race, so we should get a ghost going through that eventually. Also, we do have the chance of it being freezing temp, so let me check this one more time. Oh, yeah. Okay, we know what it is. It's a shade. No wonder we haven't been getting much interaction. But yeah, it just deploys in a line like that. Like I said, you get 3 charges of it, so we'll actually go ahead and put another line of salt out here. And then another line right here, because why not? Well, hi there. I didn't realize it actually made the sound of footsteps. But yeah, that's what it looks like when a ghost steps through the salt. Keep that in mind if you're trying to get UV off of salt alone. But like I said, this little dish gets 3 charges per use. Very useful, especially if you're just like blocking off doorways with it if you have a very mobile ghost. Up to you if you think that's worth. In all honesty, I think it is, but it's completely up to you. This is one of the upgrades I see as optional. But anyway, we still have a few more things to go over before I am ready to call it as just being a shade. Which I believe by now we've spent enough time in the house to have our sanity fall, so I get to show off the tier 2 sanity med. Well, goddamn, we haven't been doing anything in there. Okay then. Go ahead and show off the motion sensor, parabolic, and camera. So, motion sensor. Big thing with this one. I was actually mistaken when I first got this item. I thought that the initial upgrade would extend the range of the laser. It doesn't. The main thing that it does actually is if you set it down and then click it, you can split the beam so that you can, and this is actually a very useful upgrade by the way. I know it doesn't seem like it, but being able to split the beam like this is very useful in the fact that if you walk through the beam, like you can hear the 2 different beeps. Each of those lines, which I can go ahead and show you real quick. So each of those lines with the tier 2 motion sensor is shown on the map here in the van. Whenever a ghost passes through here, the lines will light up green in according to which direction the ghost is moving. So not only do you know, okay, the ghost moved through this area, you also know which way it's going, which is such a useful feature. Also, I'll go ahead and show the new range of the sound sensor. You get a 3rd setting. The tier 1 sound sensor can go out to 5 meters or 10 meters. The tier 2 can go out to 5, 10, or 15. So that's your 3rd setting. As you can see, I don't think it's all that useful, just because being able to cover the whole house with a sound sensor when a ghost typically sticks to one room. The only way I can really justify it is if you're trying to figure out where the ghost room is and you're just trying to listen for it interacting with stuff. But even then, that doesn't tell you where it is. It just tells you that it interacted with something. I mean, like maybe if you're looking for door interactions, if you're trying to get UV, you can use it for that. But yeah, I don't find the sound sensors all that useful. Okay, anyway, tier 2 camera. Oh, it turned off the power. Son of a bitch. Yeah, it just fully turned off power. I thought it might have just kicked the breaker, but no, it came down here and turned it off. But anyway, tier 2 camera. Huge difference here. You can actually see what you're taking a picture of before you take it. That doesn't seem like it should be all that noteworthy, but trust me, when you've been playing with the tier 1 for so long, you will appreciate having a screen to show you the pictures. As well, I believe it has a higher like limit on the number of pictures you can take. With the tier 1 camera, you can only take 5 pictures with it before you've run out of photographs. With the tier 2, I don't know if there's actually a limit on it. I'd have to check. But all I know is it does have a higher limit. Actually, it might not have a higher limit. Hold on. Okay, so music box is right here. If I can take another picture, it has a higher limit. Which, you know what, it looks like it opened this door. So yeah, we do have a higher limit of pictures that you can take with the tier 2 camera. I heard it touch a door. Which door was that? Couldn't catch it in the act, unfortunately. And then as far as the tier 2 parabolic mic, this is another one I consider necessary if you're trying to get this particular like side thing. Like, parabolic mic usually shows up as a side mission, but it is so hard to actually detect whether or not you have paranormal noises. Just because the game is very finicky about what it considers a paranormal noise. And it's actually very hard to hear some of the paranormal noises in the game. So having this little decimal meter on the side makes it so much easier. You can actually hear when the ghost interacts with something, or if the ghost is like whispering into the parabolic mic, you can detect it a lot easier. So I do recommend, if you're like doing a lot of like the side missions in maps, I do recommend using this and getting this upgrade. I wouldn't say as soon as possible. It is definitely a very useful upgrade. But regardless, I believe the only thing we have left to go over is the tier 2 sanity med. I could be wrong. Looks... Oh wait, no, we do have a few more things. But the tier 2 sanity med. Our sanity is low enough for me to show the effect of it. Basically, all this is... I've seen a lot of people online have the misconception that the tiers 2 and 3 sanity med restore more sanity than the tier 1. That isn't true. Sanity meds restores the same amount of sanity depending on what difficulty you're playing on. I believe on amateur it's 35%, intermediate is 30%, and it keeps going down by 5% as you increase the difficulty. The difference is how quickly they act. I believe the tier 1 sanity med acts over a course of 30 seconds. While the tier 2 acts over a course of 15 seconds, and then the tier 3, of course, is, I believe, over 10 seconds. So that's the main difference. Now, to show you the last 3 items. First off, tier 2 fire starter. I can flip this all the live long day, and I don't have to worry about running out. The lighter itself has 5 minutes of uninterrupted fuel, so it is very rare, unless you're doing like a no flashlight challenge, that you will ever run out of fuel in this thing. So just bear that in mind. Feel free to use it as you wish. Just know that it is there for you. I do recommend this upgrade just because using the matches is so finicky. Like, once you light a match, it's lit. You can't like put it out and then relight it later. That match is gone, and you only get 10 of them per charge of the fire starters. With this, nothing like that. Like I said, you can flip it all day, and you will barely run out of fuel. But anyway, it basically just offers more flexibility. Tier 2 candle is a little odd. The main difference is it increases the effectiveness of the candle's reduction on sanity drain. Tier 1 candles reduce your sanity drain by 33% while you're in their radius. Tier 2s reduce it by, I believe, 50%. I could be wrong on that. Feel free to check me. But that's the main difference, is it just has a higher degree of effectiveness. It helps reduce your sanity loss more. The other feature of it is, I believe, Tier 1 candles last for 3 minutes. The Tier 2 lasts for 5. And also, I could be wrong on this, but I want to say... No. Okay, I think the ghost can blow out the candles individually, but it needs to blow out all 3. So this is also a very good check for, I believe, the Onryo is the one that hunts when 3 candles are blown out. But it is a very effective check. And then finally, of course, is the incense. You do need a fire starter in your inventory in order to use this. The main thing with this one is it burns for longer than the tier 1, and also if you use it during a hunt, it temporarily stuns the ghost. I forget if it's a stun or a slow, but basically it makes it harder for the ghosts to follow you and also blinds them. So for the duration of the incense burning down, the ghost won't be able to see you, and it'll be either slowed or completely stopped in its tracks. So yeah, just right-click to activate. Burns down very quick. You can see, I believe it's about a 7-second burn time. But while that is active, you are safe from the ghost. I was really hoping that this thing would drain my sanity more, but no. This thing has been a very chill ghost. So, hold up, we got... Sorry, I'm getting a notification about something. I'm keeping an eye out because I'm trying to get internship for the summer, and I've just been keeping my eye out for any job postings. But anyway, oh, the ghost blew out the firelight. Well, I guess now we get to check whether or not it can, Okay, the ghost blows them all out at once, I believe. So, maybe it's not as much of a check for an Onryo, but still. The reduction in sanity drain and the longer duration do make that worth it. So anyway, we do have it labeled as a shade. We'll go ahead and leave. And then I'll get down to which items I do recommend upgrading.
Welcome back. There's some jobs ready for you.
Yep, I know there's always jobs. Yeah, and like I said, I just did that on amateur just for the sake of maybe having a ghost hunt so I could show off the crucifix. But anyway, next. So, what items I would recommend upgrading? All of the tier, like all of these main equipments, I recommend upgrading when you can, because all of them are just straight upgrades, other than maybe the UV light. That one comes down to personal preference, as well as thermometer might come down to personal preference. But in general, I recommend upgrading these the moment you can. It's just something good to have. All of them increase their functionality in some way. Beyond that, though, it's just usually their increased range or like faster operating. Or like higher tier of interaction, so the ghost is more likely to interact with them. As for your optional equipment, recommend first off crucifix. As soon as you can, get that upgrade. The 2 charges is so useful. It will keep you safe. If you bring 2 of these for 4 hunts, bear in mind they don't work on curse hunts yet. That is the tier 3 upgrade. But just being able to use them for 2 hunts is very good. Tier 2 tripod, kind of a sleeper hit, if I'm being honest, but very good. The ability to rotate your camera is so nice to have. It's very nice. I can't believe I slept on this for so long, just thinking it was, okay, more weight. Tier 2 fire starter, very good. You have 5 minutes worth of flame, rather than just having 10 uses of 10 seconds of flame. So it is... Actually, let me do the math real quick. So 10 uses of 10 seconds. That's 100 seconds. So less than 2 minutes of flame with the matches versus 5 minutes with this lighter. Yeah, that is a straight upgrade. Anyway, the photo camera is a good upgrade to have, just being able to see what you're taking a picture of rather than just guessing where the center of the screen is. Tier 2 head cam. Depends on if you're playing solo or with friends. I do recommend it for solo hunting, but if you're with friends, I recommend sticking to the tier 1 just because the camera is so much better. Now, of course, that's not going to matter when we get to tier 3 and it just becomes straight up night vision, but it's up to you whether or not you think this upgrade is worth it. Any others? There's not any that I would strictly recommend. I mean, incense tier 2 is pretty good. Okay, so it is a slow. Apologies. 6 seconds of burning. It blinds the ghost during hunts and slows the ghost during hunts. But it is a very good upgrade, especially considering that you don't get any slow and you get 1 less second of burn time, as well as the radius that they can be used in effectively is larger for this tier 2 incense. So this is another one I highly recommend grabbing. The rest aren't as necessary, but still good things to have. Tier 2 parabolic mic if you're going for extra money in the missions. Being able to see when the decibel meter changes is a very nice upgrade. Tier 2 salt, having 3 uses is very nice, as well as the different pattern of spreading makes it better for different scenarios. More specifically, if you have a very mobile ghost, this is very good for like locking down doorways. I actually recommend 2 people bring tier 2 salt, 1 person brings tier 1, so that you can cover all your doorways, and then you have like 2 piles for just random spots in the room. Sound sensor. The 15-meter radius, not strictly necessary. I've never really been a huge fan of the sound sensors. I've come around on them recently because I've realized that they're very good for detecting like EMF signatures when you're outside of the room, or if you're like looking for specifically door interactions. It can be very useful for that, but not strictly necessary. Tier 2 Firelight, the sanity drain reduction is nice, but if you watch any of my videos, we very rarely use firelights unless we are specifically trying to get an extra mission where we want the ghost to blow out the firelight. So, Tier 2 Motion Sensor, very useful if you have a mobile ghost, almost useless otherwise. Just because of the ability to see, okay, the ghost is A, leaving the room, and B, this is the direction it's going. But honestly, unless the ghost is in a room with multiple exits, this isn't a huge deal. Like, you can get away a lot with the tier 1 motion sensor just by bringing multiple of them. Like, you can bring 4 into a hunt. So, it's up to you. If you are worried about also losing gear, it might be worth it, because you can bring, like, fewer tier 2s to make up for the tier 1s. Each one of these is $100, so I believe that makes them the most expensive piece of gear in the game. So it's up to you. And then, of course, tier 2 sanity medication. Oh, actually, I had my timings wrong. It's 20 seconds for the sanity med tier 1, 10 seconds for sanity tier 2. Like I said, it doesn't have any effect on the actual sanity gained from these. It just affects the use speed. They will always restore the same amount of sanity depending on, or not even depending on what tier you use. They will always restore the same amount of sanity depending on the difficulty of game you're playing. But yeah, that is all of the tier 2 equipment done. Thank you guys all so much for watching. If you enjoyed this episode, please leave a like, leave a comment, subscribe. Go check out some of my other videos. I have a ton of content on Phasmophobia, so if you want to see me using some of these pieces of equipment, maybe not to their best use, I won't say I'm the best at the game, but I am decent. You can check out my Phasmophobia Freelancer series, which is me doing solo hunts to show off my sort of methodology of hunting ghosts. Or you can check out some of my multiplayer games with my friends where it is just pure chaos. It is very fun. I highly recommend those videos, and I highly recommend you go and check out my friends too. They got Andrew and Gavin both have channels, which I should have linked in the descriptions of those videos. But anyway, again, thank you all so much for watching today's episode of the Phasmophobia Beginner's Guide. Have a good day, everyone.